Recent disclosures from the U.S. government on unidentified aerial phenomena have all but practically validated the existence of a phenomenon now requiring exotic explanations. If in fact, these incidents prove the existence of non-human intelligence, we must ask, who or what are they? Where do they originate from? There have been many hypotheses attempting to explain the identity of these presumed non-human intelligences. In this video, we will explore this question through the lens of two key potentially explanatory theories: the Cosmological Consciousness Ontology, Cocoon, presented in my first video, link in description, and Dr. Rupert Sheldrake's hypothesis of Morphic Resonance. According to the Cocoon theory, there is an informational plane connected to what we perceive as reality, with consciousness acting as a transducer that enables the transfer of information from spacetime into this information plane via quantum wave function collapses triggered by conscious observations. The key attributes of the Cocoon model are: singular universe. The theory posits the existence of only one universe, rejecting the notion of multiverses or multiple physical dimensions. Consistency with physical laws. The theory aligns seamlessly with the laws governing the material plane, typically referred to as spacetime, including our understanding of how our senses, brain, and mind function to perceive and process information. Fundamental consciousness. It places consciousness as a core aspect of the universe, portraying it as a timeless, evolving entity. The theory outlines a mechanism for consciousness to evolve, involving the transfer of information gained through material plane experiences, back to the information plane. This hints at the presence of a universal information repository, often referred to as the Akasha, a concept rooted in ancient Hindu philosophy representing a universal information field encompassing knowledge of all events across time and space. Unique consciousness. The theory asserts the uniqueness of conscious entities, which cannot be cloned, in accordance with quantum's no-cloning theorem. It establishes that conscious entities gain distinct identities based on their individual experiences, forming the foundation for the concept of the soul. Connection with microtubules. The theory suggests a mechanism, supported by Hameroff and Penrose's microtubule hypothesis, explaining how consciousness connects the information plane with the material plane. Wave function collapse. It establishes a link explaining how consciousness serves as a catalyst triggering the collapse of the wave function upon observation. Entanglements. The theory describes a mechanism for the connection between conscious entities through quantum entanglements. Limitation of artificial sentience. It provides a rationale for why classical computing will never achieve strong artificial sentience. Understanding time. In alignment with Smolin and Verde's perspectives, the theory offers insights into the evanescent nature of the past and the non-existence of the future. It emphasizes that time travel is not possible. It views time just as a progression of wave function collapses triggered by conscious observation. Supports the concept of free will. The theory offers a framework for the exercise of free will by conscious entities. As a bonus, the Cocoon model can provide explanations for many phenomena currently defined as strange. A second Cocoon video, titled Explaining Strangeness, delves into the details on how aliens may be visiting our planet. Some of these details will be discussed later in this video. Let's now cover Rupert Sheldrake's theory of morphic resonance. Morphic resonance is the process by which entities can tap into and contribute to the morphic field of their kind, through similarities. This resonance involves transmitting structural information, known as habits, via non-local communications. The fundamental concept is that immaterial organizing fields, called morphic fields, serve as blueprints to guide the development and behavior of entities ranging from proteins and cells to animals and humans. According to Sheldrake, these fields evolve through cumulative experience and memory. The more a type of entity has existed over time, the more complex its morphic field becomes. Sheldrake offers various evidence supporting this theory. For example, experiments showed rats learned mazes faster after other rats had mastered the same maze, suggesting collective skills acquisition through morphic fields. Human subjects also learn memorized Japanese poems more easily if others had already memorized them first. While controversial, Sheldrake argues morphic resonance can explain phenomena like collective learning, coordinated behavior, and evolution of complex systems across nature. The Cocoon model can synergize with Sheldrake's theory of morphic resonance. Particularly his suggestion that morphic fields may involve quantum entanglement between similar entities across space and time, and the idea that morphic fields could be a form of collective consciousness, align well with Cocoon. With Cocoon and morphic resonance, we now have a framework to better analyze the possible nature of the UAP phenomena, including reported alien sightings. In his book, Passport to Magonia, Jacques Vallée brought forth the evolving idea that UFOs may correlate with mystical or metaphysical forces rather than just physical ones. What makes UAPs intriguing is their sheer diversity and contradictory nature. On the one hand, they supposedly have super sophisticated technology. Yet they seem to crash frequently due to clumsy reasons like getting hit by lightning or by hitting electrical towers. Do they want to be seen or not? Sometimes they put on flashy aerial shows and then vanish. Other times they poorly disguise themselves as clouds or aircraft. But then why have bright lights if avoiding detection? UFO shapes range wildly, coming in more forms than Liberace customs, from gigantic triangles to disc-shaped saucers in varying sizes, to tic-tac and cigar shapes. Some are said to be pyramidal, cubic, egg-shaped, or spherical. Some of the sightings are witnessed by many people but are not detected by radars, others are detected by radars or by infrared but are not visible to the naked eye. As for acrobatics, they move fast, changing directions rapidly, they fade, they burst, they split, they merge, they dive, they freeze, they seemingly do it all. Indeed, Jacques Vallée highlights a certain trickster nature in their actions. As for the occupants, most reports come from claimed abductions, but also a few from witnesses claiming to have seen the UAP tripulants under various circumstances. It turns out that alien types also come in a large variety. Among the ones reported are the Greys, short, gray-skinned humanoids with large heads and dark eyes, who are often associated with many abduction accounts. Variants include tall Greys and hybrid Greys. There are also aliens with reptile features like scales or snake-like eyes, ranging from tall to short. Some, known as Nordics, are human-like aliens with pale skin, light hair, and blue eyes. The story goes that those originate from the Pleiades star cluster, which means they are definitely not from Sweden. Then there are the tall whites. These are supposed to be pale, thin aliens over 7 feet tall, with white hair and often wearing white uniforms. The most terrifying are the insectoids. These aliens have characteristics reminiscent of insects, like large compound eyes, wings, antennas, and hard exoskeletons. Some are said to look like praying mantises. And then there are also aliens that closely resemble humans, indistinguishable from most of us, aside from minor oddities in appearance and behavior. In some lore, these tend to mix more with the population, perhaps in the manner described in the movie They Live or in the classic 60s TV series The Invaders. Finally, exotics is the umbrella term for radically non-humanoid aliens. These are often described as energy beings, giant floating heads, or amorphous glows, but truth be told the reported number of exotics pales in comparison to the other forms. Worth noting is that, except for the exotics, all alien forms seem to be anthropomorphically like humans. Sure, they might look a bit different, but it's clear that they follow our general body plan with a head, eyes, a thorax, arms and legs. One could even argue that octopuses look more alien than aliens. Don't you think? Nevertheless, the immense variety of reported alien sightings presents us with a fascinating puzzle. As a result, several competing hypotheses have emerged over the years to explain the perplexing phenomenon of humanoid aliens. The Silurian hypothesis, for example, proposes that an ancient yet technologically advanced reptilian civilization once existed right here on Earth. In one version, intelligent dinosaur-like reptilians evolved from bipedal raptor species like velociraptors around 70 million years ago. These reptilians then abandoned Earth, perhaps to escape the effects of the Chicxulub asteroid impact, only to later return in advanced spacecraft and visit the humans that evolved much later. While controversial, some scientists concede that traces of such a civilization could theoretically be detected through rare isotopes, technological remnants in our near-space environment, or from anomalies in Earth's geology. A related idea suggests an earlier human civilization, far more advanced than currently understood, emerged hundreds of thousands of years ago but was destroyed by a great cataclysm, with only a few survivors able to persist in remote refuges like under the oceans or underground caverns. However, no unambiguous artifacts definitively predating 10,000 years ago have been found. Controversial archaeological discoveries of sophisticated antique artifacts such as the Antikythera mechanism and clay batteries have been found, but none of these predate Neolithic times. Other discoveries suggest humanity could have developed sophisticated civilizations as far back as 40,000 years ago, and this possibility jibes with legends relating catastrophic events in the human past such as the disappearance of Atlantis or the global floodings, but no evidence for technologically advanced civilizations older than 10,000 years exists. The nihilistically inclined support the simulation hypothesis, which speculates that our perceived reality is an ultra-sophisticated artificial construct or computer simulation created by a higher-order intelligence. This philosophically fascinating notion remains scientifically unproven and unfalsifiable, even if it was great a concept for movies like The Matrix. The multidimensional hypothesis proposes that UFOs and their alien occupants originate from parallel universes, or extra or higher dimensions outside our conventional spacetime. While the multiverse hypothesis explains wavefunction collapse via the branching of numerous possible universes, and superstring theory posits several microscopic dimensions, the idea that there are other physical dimensions capable of sustaining alternative life remains unknown. In the end, both the simulation and multidimensional hypotheses are so wide open that one could argue they are on par with any religious hypothesis suggesting the existence of an all-powerful deity able to create whatever aliens he or she chooses. Then there is the time traveler's theory, which argues that UFOs are manned by visiting humans from the distant future. These humans intentionally avoid overt contact or interactions that could alter the past and create temporal paradoxes. Remember, time travel presents us with serious paradoxes such as the grandfather paradox, whereby someone traveling to the past to murder his younger grandfather could not have been born to travel back in the first place, and the equally troublesome bootstrap paradox with someone traveling to the past to introduce an invention, leaving the question of who made the invention in the first place. It is true that theoretically, time travel is not explicitly forbidden within Einstein's theory of general relativity. The block universe model, which is the most conventionally understood ontological explanation for Einstein's spacetime, indicates that the past, present, and future all exist eternally and statically as a unified four-dimensional block. Hence, there is no objective flow of time, and all past, present, and future moments essentially already exist. In this model, there is no inherent reason to believe that any actions taken in the past by a time traveler would fundamentally change the future, since the future experiencing the impact of those actions already exists in the block. However, a major philosophical issue with the block universe interpretation is that it essentially negates any objective concept of free will, since all decisions have been fixed for eternity. This complete loss of free will is highly problematic, akin to throwing out the baby with the bathwater. Many find it counterintuitive and unsatisfying as an explanation for the true nature of time and human volition, and it certainly does not align with Cocoon's interpretation of time. Even the various alien forms representing humans from the future during different evolutionary epochs seem problematic, not only because reptilian aliens are unlikely to be humans from the future, but on why future aliens are all said to be Nordic-looking, with no Asian aliens, Afro-aliens or Hispano-aliens being reported as far as we know. So, that leaves us with the question of E.T. Not the Steven Spielberg movie, but the conventional extraterrestrial hypothesis that aliens ultimately originate from other star systems. This traditional view is mostly questioned by the immense logistical challenges of feasible interstellar travel given light speed limitations, and by the persuasive biological arguments against the odds of ETs evolving to look similar to humans. As previously mentioned, the first argument is addressed in the second Cocoon video titled Explaining Strangeness. In that video, I proposed the concept of galactic colonization by civilizations embarking on multi-generational voyages and pursuing a live-off-the-land approach. This view mirrors historical scenarios, such as when Europeans encountered the Americas. During that era, travel times by sail ships were substantial, making it impractical for Europeans to frequently journey back and forth between continents. Instead, despite strong objections from the Native Americans, they established colonies in the Americas, thereby re-establishing European civilization on new lands. According to Cocoon, the limitation of the speed of light applies solely to travel in spacetime, not to the flow of information via the information plane. This means that once aliens establish a presence on a remote planet, they can still instantaneously communicate back to their home planet through telepathic means. In addition, this theory sheds light on the reason behind UAP crashes. With aliens residing on our planet or solar system, UAPs would be manufactured here on Earth, utilizing terrestrial materials, while trying to replicate the advanced manufacturing processes of their home planets. This cannot be an easy feat. Imagine being stranded on a remote island and attempting to build an electrical generator. Even if you possess the knowledge, you'd need to mine and process all necessary materials and components. Even if you manage to find copper and know how to turn it into wires, the absence of proper manufacturing infrastructure would likely result in higher failure rates. This suggests UAP crashes may be due to failures caused by material or assembly defects, and may explain why we witness these with some frequency. The second argument against the extraterrestrial hypothesis about why aliens look so much like humans can be best addressed by some paradigm-shifting considerations. Life first emerged on Earth approximately 3.8 billion years ago. However, Earth formed around 4.5 billion years ago, and it took several 100 million years for the Earth's surface to cool enough to form oceans. According to current scientific understanding, the highly improbable event of life originating from nothing occurred in less than 500 million years. It's a well-known principle that the less likely a random event is to occur, the longer it takes to happen. Considering that it took an additional 2 billion years for more complex eukaryotic cells to evolve, and then another billion years for multicellular organisms to appear during the Cambrian period, the sudden appearance of prokaryotic cells from nothing, just a few 100 million years after the Earth cooled down, seems rather implausible. Logic dictates that life should have taken longer to emerge. Some projections suggest a more reasonable time frame for life's first appearance was around 7 billion years ago. But since Earth's age is only 4.5 billion years, this implies that life must have originated elsewhere in our galaxy and then was seeded onto our planet through natural material transfers such as cosmic clouds, supernova ejecta, asteroids, or even deliberately. This concept is known as panspermia, and the real question to ask is why this is not the prevailing scientific theory to begin with. It's important to note that we are not discussing fully formed organisms propagating around the galaxy, but rather unicellular prokaryotic life forms. Still, the mere possibility that most, if not all, life in our galaxy might share a common single-cell origin tied to specific planetary environments establishes a unified foundation for all future evolutionary processes. It can then be easy to see why most galactic life could be carbon-based rather than silicon-based, have the same orientation for DNA regardless of the planet, and have DNA constituted by the same 4 genetic nitrogenous bases we have. These bases can similarly encode the same 20 standard amino acids supporting life on Earth. These commonalities can exist irrespective of the planet. As for evolution, a well-established evolutionary principle states that form follows function. Evolutionary processes arising from a common root within similar ecosystems can yield similar organisms. This phenomenon is known as convergent evolution, where organisms not closely related independently develop similar traits due to their adaptation to comparable environments or ecological niches. Convergent evolution is widely observed across various taxa, including vertebrates, plants, and microbes. For instance, birds, bats, and insects all independently evolved the ability to fly, adapting wings and aerodynamic shapes to become flying predators, despite their distinct lineages. Another compelling convergent evolution example is the similarity between Australian dingoes, native wild canines, and dogs originating from wolves in Eurasia. Despite those two species originating from separate continents and evolutionary lineages, they share familiar appearances and adaptations for living and hunting around human settlements. Furthermore, morphic resonance provides a compelling counterargument to the most robust assertion against the notion that aliens cannot be truly alien simply because they resemble us. In Cocoon, we assert that consciousness emerged as a transducer connecting the material plane with the information plane only after life developed microtubules. These are hollow, tube-shaped protein polymers that exist within our cells. They are extremely small. Each of our 80 billion neurons, for instance, can contain 1 billion microtubules, and their small dimensions make them less prone to quantum decoherence. Prokaryotes, which encompass bacteria and archaea, lack microtubules. It was only after the eukaryotes developed quantum-capable microtubules thanks to their more intricate cellular architecture that material life could connect with the information plane via quantum entanglements. Crucially, this also provided a mechanism for morphic resonance to occur. Morphic resonance might have then influenced the emergence of intelligence on Earth by reflecting the habits of extraterrestrial organisms who had previously developed intelligence in other more mature planetary systems. A final point for discussion concerns the apparent reluctance of aliens to contact us. Except for the humans from the future scenario, the rationale behind the aliens' behavior remains unclear. Why would they undertake vast interstellar journeys only to remain hidden? It's possible that we currently lack the necessary context to accurately speculate about the aliens' agenda. Moreover, if reports are true and we are being visited by at least 6 different civilizations, their respective agendas could vary significantly. Some civilizations might be benevolent, while others may not be so. Some might be conducting research, others may be just tourists, and still, others could be engaged in experiments and studies. At this point, the possibilities are vast. Regardless, resolving the issue of the origin of non-human entities will bring us closer to finding the answers we seek. Various creative hypotheses have arisen over the decades to account for the confounding phenomenon of humanoid aliens and UFOs. Each theory carries its own flaws, gaps, and ambiguities. Ultimately, more scientific evidence and advances will be needed to unravel this profound mystery. In the meantime, let's wrap up with a high-level analysis using somewhat speculative scores to help us evaluate the most likely sources of non-human intelligence. Starting with the extraterrestrial hypothesis, it aligns completely with known physical laws, earning it a score of 100. The technological feasibility of intergalactic civilizations, despite daunting distances, also receives a perfect score of 100. This hypothesis aptly explains the diverse reported alien appearances, earning a 50-50 score for anthropomorphic features. Regarding the hermetic or trickster behavior of aliens, considering the variety of visitors, we think a score of 75 is reasonable. Moving on to the men from the future hypothesis, while Einstein's theory could be assumed to be 80% correct, it does allow for time travel in principle. However, questions raised by time travel paradoxes reduce its feasibility to 10. While this theory accounts for human-looking aliens, the fact that reptilian forms have been reported made us apply a middle ground score of 50. On the plus side, this hypothesis excels in explaining their motivation, securing a perfect score of 100. For the million-year Cerulean hypothesis, the high feasibility score, 100, contrasts with the low score for explaining their agenda. Why would reptiles who managed to bail out of this planet want to return anyway? Conversely, the thousands of years Cerulean hypothesis should receive a low feasibility score given the scant evidence for it, but it gets at least a 25 score in consideration of the recent Göbekli Tepe findings in Turkey, suggesting some advanced civilizations might have existed as far back as 12,000 years ago, even if those were not necessarily technologically advanced. The simulation hypothesis, lacking firm establishment by physical laws, earns a modest score of 25. Considering the vast flexibility within this theory, most other scores are set at 100, except for the presumed agenda of 25, since the most logical explanation in this case is that we are all just avatars in a cosmically sophisticated video game. Lastly, the multidimensional hypothesis, while having some theoretical foundation, faces challenges in feasibility due to the presumption that multiple dimensions or multiverses must be unconnected. Moreover, it's hard to imagine multidimensional life resembling ours, meriting a feasibility score of 25 for this concept. Once adding the scores, we can conclude the extraterrestrial hypothesis remains as the most viable one. Interestingly, even if we discounted the anthropomorphic column for this hypothesis entirely, it would still rank the highest. Some could argue that Nordics are perhaps men from the future, whereas reptilians are dinosaur descendants, and Greys are from another solar system. While considering combinations of hypotheses is conceivable, it contradicts Occam's razor principle, favoring the simplest explanation. With the firm support for the view that non-human intelligence likely originates from other solar systems in our galaxy, our future endeavors will delve deeper into analyzing their motivations and agenda. This topic will be explored in a forthcoming video. Thank you for your time and interest. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and like. Until next time.